Have you ever noticed something strange about certain older people? You meet someone who says they are 65, 70, even 80 years old. But when you look at them, something feels almost unbelievable. Their face still carries energy. Their eyes still shine with curiosity. Their presence feels lighter, calmer, younger than many people half their age. And then you see someone else, someone who is only 45 or 50, yet they already look exhausted by life. Their shoulders are heavy. Their face carries years of stress. Their spirit feels tired. So what is the difference? Is it genetics? Is it luck? Or is there something far deeper happening inside the mind and soul? Because psychologists and life researchers have noticed something fascinating. People who look younger between the ages of 60 and 85 are often not just aging differently on the outside, they are living very differently on the inside. Their mindset, their emotional habits, their way of dealing with life, their attitude toward time, people, and problems. All of it quietly shapes how they age. In fact, many experts believe that the way you think and live can age your face faster than time itself. And if you are someone between 60 and 85 who still looks younger than your age, it may reveal something powerful about who you are as a person. It may reveal hidden strengths that many people never develop. In today's video, we are going to explore the deep psychological and life traits commonly found in people who age slowly. Traits that protect their mind, their energy, and even their physical appearance. So if people often tell you, you don't look your age, this video might reveal exactly why. Now let's begin. Because the first trait is something very few people understand, but it changes the entire aging process. 1. You don't carry unnecessary stress. One of the most powerful reasons some people still look young even after 60, 70, or 80 is something surprisingly simple, yet incredibly rare. They refuse to carry stress that does not belong to them. Think about it for a moment. Look around in everyday life. You will notice that many people spend decades worrying about things they cannot control. They worry about what others think about them. They worry about what relatives say behind their back. They worry about family drama, financial uncertainty, comparisons with neighbors, or whether their life looks successful enough to others. And slowly, year after year, these worries begin to leave their marks, not just in their minds, but also on their faces. You can often see it: the tightened jaw, the constant tension in the forehead, the tired eyes that look older than the person actually is. Stress slowly shapes the body in silent ways. It tightens facial muscles, disturbs sleep, drains emotional energy, and fills the mind with constant pressure. Over time, this invisible burden begins to age a person faster than time itself. But people who look younger after 60 usually have something different about them. Somewhere along the journey of life, they learned a powerful emotional skill, the ability to let things go. This does not mean their lives were easy. In fact, many of them have faced enormous struggles, financial problems, family challenges, personal losses, and disappointments that could break most people. But instead of holding on to every painful experience forever, they slowly realized something important. Not every argument needs a response. Not every criticism deserves attention. Not every problem deserves to live inside your mind for years. For example, imagine two people who face the same situation. Someone insults them or spreads rumors about them. One person keeps thinking about it for weeks, replaying the conversation again and again in their mind. Their anger grows. Their stress increases. Their sleep becomes disturbed. Their face slowly carries the weight of that emotional battle. But the other person simply shrugs and moves on. They think, people will always talk. My peace is more valuable than their opinion. Within a few minutes, the moment disappears from their mind. And because they do not hold onto that stress, their mind and body remain lighter. This difference may seem small in a single moment, but imagine this pattern repeating over 20 or 30 years. One person keeps collecting emotional burdens like heavy stones in a bag. The other person keeps putting those stones down and walking freely. By the time they reach their later years, the difference becomes visible. People who age slowly often develop a quiet wisdom. They realize that life will always contain chaos, misunderstandings, and unpredictable problems. But carrying every problem inside your heart is like drinking poison and expecting peace. So they become selective about what they allow into their mind. They protect their emotional energy the same way a wise person protects their health. They understand something that many people never learn. Not every battle deserves your peace. And this emotional freedom does something extraordinary. It relaxes the body. It softens the face. It brings calmness to the eyes. Over time, that inner peace becomes visible on the outside. While others slowly age under the weight of stress, these people carry themselves with a quiet lightness that keeps them looking younger than their years. Because sometimes the true secret of aging slowly is not found in creams, diets, or beauty treatments. It is found in something far deeper: the ability to release what no longer deserves space in your mind. 2. You stayed curious about life. Another powerful reason. Some people still look surprisingly young after 60, 70, or even 80 is something that many people slowly lose as they grow older: curiosity. At first, this may not seem like something connected to aging, but if you observe people carefully, you will notice a fascinating pattern. Many individuals reach a certain age and quietly begin to shut down their curiosity about life. They stop learning new things. They stop asking questions. Their world becomes smaller and more predictable. Day after day, the routine becomes exactly the same. Wake up, repeat the same habits, talk about the same old stories, think the same thoughts they have been thinking for years. Slowly, their mind becomes less active, less flexible, less interested in discovering anything new. And when the mind stops expanding, something inside a person begins to age faster than the body itself. But people who look younger after 60 often carry a very different energy. Even though their hair may be gray and their years may be many, their mind still behaves like someone who is curious about the world. They still want to understand things. They still enjoy learning. They still ask questions like a student of life. You might notice this in simple, everyday moments. They might pick up a book and become deeply interested in a new idea. They might watch a documentary and suddenly start thinking about the world in a different way. They might talk to younger people and genuinely want to understand how the new generation sees life. Instead of criticizing everything that is new, they observe it with curiosity. This keeps their mind incredibly active. For example, imagine two people who are both 70 years old. One person believes they have already learned everything important about life. They reject new ideas. They dismiss new technologies. They avoid learning anything unfamiliar. Over time, their mind becomes rigid, and that rigidity slowly reflects in their personality and even their facial expressions. But the other person is completely different. Even at 70, they still explore new things. They might learn how to use new technology. They might become interested in new hobbies. They might listen carefully to younger people and ask questions about the world that is changing around them. Their mind continues expanding instead of shrinking. And this makes a powerful difference. Curiosity stimulates the brain in ways that scientists have studied for years. When we learn something new, our brain forms fresh neural connections. These connections keep the mind sharp, flexible, and alive. In a very real sense, curiosity acts like exercise for the brain, but it also does something deeper than that. Curiosity keeps the spirit young. When a person remains curious, life continues to feel interesting. The world still feels mysterious. There are still things to discover, understand, and explore. Instead of feeling like life is slowly closing down, it feels like there are still doors waiting to be opened. And this energy becomes visible in the way a person carries themselves. Their eyes remain bright. Their conversations remain engaging. Their presence feels lively instead of tired. Because the truth is something many people never realize. Aging does not always begin in the body first. Very often, it begins quietly inside the mind. The moment a person stops wondering, stops exploring, and stops learning, something inside them begins to grow old. But the people who stay curious, even after decades of life experience, hold on to something incredibly powerful. They remain students of life. And as long as the mind continues to learn, question, and explore, a part of the human spirit stays forever young. 3. you didn't let bitterness take over. If you live long enough, life will eventually hurt you. There is no escaping that truth. Every person, no matter how strong or wise they are, will face moments that leave deep emotional marks. Relationships break, trust is betrayed, opportunities slip away, dreams that once felt certain slowly disappear. Life rarely follows the perfect plan we imagine when we are young. Some people experience these moments and move forward, but many others carry those wounds for the rest of their lives. The disappointment slowly turns into resentment. The pain slowly turns into bitterness. And over time, that bitterness begins to change how they see the world. You can often recognize it in the way they speak. Every conversation somehow returns to an old grievance, a betrayal that happened 20 years ago, a mistake someone made decades earlier, a lost opportunity they never stop thinking about. Their mind becomes trapped in the past, replaying painful memories again and again. And that emotional weight slowly begins to shape their personality. Bitterness is not just an emotion. It becomes a way of seeing life. People who hold on to it begin to expect the worst from others. They become suspicious, defensive, sometimes even angry at the world itself. And when a person carries that much unresolved pain for years, it does not stay hidden inside. It quietly appears on the outside as well. The face becomes heavier. The expressions become more tense. The eyes begin to carry a tired sadness that is difficult to hide. But the people who continue to look younger in their later years usually make a very different emotional choice. Somewhere along the way, they realize something important. Holding onto bitterness does not punish the past, it only poisons the present. This realization changes everything. It does not mean their life was free from pain. In fact, many of them have experienced heartbreak that most people would struggle to overcome. They may have lost loved ones. They may have been betrayed by people they trusted deeply. They may have watched dreams fall apart right in front of them. But instead of allowing those moments to define their entire life story, they slowly choose another path. They accept that life is imperfect. They understand that people make mistakes. And sometimes, when possible, they choose to forgive not because the other person deserves it, but because they themselves deserve peace. Imagine two people who experienced the same painful betrayal many years ago. One person holds on to that anger forever. They replay the event constantly in their mind. Every time they think about it, their body tightens and their emotions become heavy again. Even decades later, the wound remains fresh. But the other person eventually reaches a quiet understanding. They say to themselves, "What happened was painful, but I refuse to carry this burden forever." They slowly release the anger. They stop feeding the memory with constant attention. And over time, the wound begins to lose its power. That emotional freedom creates something extraordinary. It creates inner lightness. When a person is not carrying decades of resentment, their mind becomes calmer, their heart becomes more open, their energy becomes lighter, and that inner peace quietly reflects on the outside. Their face looks softer, their presence feels warmer, their spirit feels easier to be around. Because bitterness has a strange effect on the human soul. It slowly traps a person in the past, forcing them to relive old pain again and again. But people who age gracefully understand something deeper about life. They understand that the past cannot be changed, but the way we carry it can. And when a person learns to release bitterness, instead of holding on to it, they free themselves from an emotional weight that many people carry for their entire lives. Sometimes, the reason someone still looks young at 70 or 80 is not because life treated them gently. It is because they refuse to let life's hardest moments turn their heart into stone. 4. You maintain a sense of humor. This may sound simple at first, but it is one of the most powerful traits found in people who continue to look youthful even after 60, 70, or 80 years of life. They maintain a sense of humor. If you observe people who age gracefully, you will often notice something unique about their personality. They laugh more easily. They smile more naturally. Even when life throws small inconveniences their way, they don't immediately become irritated or overwhelmed. Instead, they often find something amusing in the situation. Many people, as they grow older, begin to take life extremely seriously. Every mistake feels like a crisis. Every small problem becomes a source of frustration. Traffic, delays, misunderstandings, unexpected events, these things start to drain their patience and emotional energy. Over time, this constant seriousness creates tension inside the body. The face becomes tight, the mind becomes heavy. Even the way they speak carries frustration. But people who maintain a youthful presence later in life often approach the world very differently. They understand something that many people forget. Life is unpredictable and often absurd. Things rarely go exactly according to plan. Sometimes plans fail. Sometimes situations become awkward. Sometimes life simply throws strange moments our way that we cannot control. Instead of constantly fighting these moments, they learn to step back and smile at them. For example, imagine an older man who accidentally spills tea on his shirt while sitting with friends. One person might immediately feel embarrassed, frustrated, or annoyed. The mood becomes tense. But someone with a strong sense of humor might simply laugh and say, "Well, I guess my shirt was thirsty too." Suddenly, everyone around them laughs. The tension disappears. Or imagine someone struggling to learn a new phone or technology in their later years. Some people become angry with themselves, feeling embarrassed or impatient. But others laugh at the situation and say, "This phone is smarter than me, but I'm catching up slowly." That ability to laugh at life's small frustrations creates a completely different emotional atmosphere. And this is not just about personality, it actually affects the body in very real ways. Laughter releases chemicals in the brain that reduce stress hormones. It relaxes muscles, it lowers blood pressure, it improves mood and emotional balance. In a very real sense, laughter becomes a natural medicine for the mind and body. But its deepest effect is not physical, it is emotional. Humor protects the spirit. When a person can laugh, even in imperfect situations, they prevent life from becoming too heavy. They refuse to let everyday frustrations dominate their mood. Instead of carrying tension throughout the day, they release it through lightness. Over decades, this difference becomes powerful. Imagine two people living through the same kinds of life experiences for 40 or 50 years. One reacts to every inconvenience with frustration and seriousness. The other responds with patience and humor whenever possible. By the time they reach their later years, the emotional patterns they practice daily have shaped their entire presence. One person carries years of tension inside them. The other carries a kind of relaxed, joyful energy. And people around them can feel that difference immediately. Their laughter becomes contagious. Their presence feels comfortable. Others enjoy being around them because they bring lightness into situations that might otherwise feel stressful. This is why many people who appear younger in old age often have something special about their personality. They do not try to control every detail of life. They simply laugh with it, because somewhere along the way, they realized a profound truth about life. If you take everything too seriously, life becomes exhausting. But if you can laugh even when things are imperfect, you protect something incredibly valuable. You protect the youthfulness of your spirit. And sometimes, that youthful spirit shines so strongly that it keeps a person looking younger long after the years have passed. 5. You stayed socially connected. One of the most overlooked reasons some people continue to look youthful even in their 60s, 70s, and 80s is something very simple, yet incredibly powerful. They stay socially connected. Loneliness is far more dangerous than most people realize. In fact, many health experts and psychologists have discovered something surprising. Chronic loneliness can age the human body faster than many physical illnesses. When a person spends long periods isolated from meaningful interaction, something inside them slowly begins to shut down. Humans are not designed to live emotionally alone. We are deeply social beings. From the beginning of human history, survival depended on community talking, sharing experiences, solving problems together, and supporting each other through difficult times. Our brains and emotions evolved around connection. That is why simple things like conversation, laughter with friends, or spending time with family can have such a powerful effect on our mental and emotional health. But as people grow older, many unintentionally drift into isolation. Children grow up and move away. Old friends become busy or pass away. Retirement removes daily interaction with coworkers. Gradually, social contact becomes less frequent, and the days begin to feel quieter and lonelier. At first, it may not seem like a serious problem, but over time, isolation begins to affect both the mind and the body. The brain receives less stimulation. The heart receives less emotional warmth. Days begin to feel repetitive and emotionally empty. This kind of loneliness slowly drains a person's life energy. You can sometimes see it in the way someone carries themselves. Their conversations become shorter. Their enthusiasm fades. Their eyes seem less lively than before. Isolation quietly dims the spark inside a person. But those who continue to look younger in their later years often do something very different. They intentionally keep themselves connected to people and communities around them. These connections do not always need to be large or complicated. Sometimes it is simply maintaining regular conversations with neighbors, calling an old friend, sharing tea with family members, participating in community gatherings. Even small daily interactions can make an enormous difference. For example, imagine an older woman who spends her mornings talking with neighbors during a walk through the neighborhood. They exchange stories, laugh about small things, and discuss everyday life. Those simple conversations stimulate the brain, lift the mood, and create a sense of belonging. Or think of an older man who regularly meets a few friends at a local park or cafe. They talk about life, share memories, debate ideas, and joke with one another. That social energy keeps his mind engaged and his spirit active. These interactions may seem ordinary, but they are incredibly powerful. Conversation forces the brain to think, respond, and stay mentally active. Shared experiences bring emotional warmth that no amount of solitude can replace. Laughter with others releases stress and strengthens emotional well-being. Connection feeds the human spirit in ways that are difficult to replace with anything else. On the other hand, isolation slowly drains that same energy. When a person spends too much time alone, their mind begins to turn inward. Thoughts repeat themselves. Worries grow larger. Days begin to feel heavier and slower. But when people stay socially connected, something completely different happens. Their world remains dynamic. Their mind stays stimulated. Their emotions remain engaged with life. And over decades, this difference becomes visible. People who stay connected often carry a brighter presence. Their conversations feel lively. Their expressions feel warm. Their eyes reflect engagement with the world around them. Because deep down, connection reminds us that we are part of something larger than ourselves. It keeps the heart open. It keeps the mind active. And sometimes, that steady flow of human connection becomes one of the hidden reasons why some people continue to look and feel younger long after many others have begun to slow down. 6. You took care of your body. This may sound obvious at first, but it is one of the most powerful reasons some people continue to look youthful even after 60, 70, or 80 years of life. They took care of their body, not in an extreme way, not with perfection, but with consistent respect for their health over many years. Many people underestimate how much their daily habits quietly shape their future. In youth, the body feels strong and forgiving. You can sleep poorly, eat carelessly, ignore exercise, and still feel mostly fine. Because of this, many people assume their choices do not matter very much. But the human body never forgets. Every small habit, good or bad, quietly accumulates over decades. And eventually, those habits begin to show their results. People who age well often follow simple practices that may seem ordinary, but over 30 or 40 years they become incredibly powerful. They walk regularly, they move their bodies instead of remaining inactive all day. They try to eat reasonably balanced meals. They allow their body proper rest and sleep. None of these habits require perfection. In fact, most people who age gracefully are not obsessed with strict diets or extreme fitness routines. Instead, they develop a balanced relationship with their body. They treat it with care because they understand something important. The body is the only home we live in for our entire life. For example, think about someone who takes a simple daily walk every morning for many years. At first, it may seem like a small effort, just a short walk through the neighborhood or the park. But over time, that habit strengthens the heart, keeps the muscles active, improves circulation, and supports mental clarity. Now imagine another person who spends most of their time sitting, avoiding movement whenever possible. Year after year, the body slowly becomes weaker. Energy levels drop, the muscles lose strength. Simple activities begin to feel exhausting. The difference between these two lifestyles may not be obvious in the beginning, but after 20 or 30 years, the contrast becomes impossible to ignore. The body rewards consistency. Another important factor is sleep. Many people underestimate how deeply sleep affects aging. When the body receives proper rest, it repairs itself. Cells regenerate. The brain clears stress chemicals accumulated during the day. But when sleep is constantly disturbed or neglected, the body slowly begins to show signs of exhaustion. People who age gracefully often respect their need for rest. They allow their body the time it needs to recover and restore energy. Even small choices around food can make a long-term difference. This does not mean someone must follow a perfect diet every day, but people who age well usually develop a natural awareness of what their body needs. They eat meals that provide nourishment rather than constantly overwhelming the body with excess sugar, processed foods, or unhealthy habits. Over decades, this balance strengthens the body from the inside, and eventually, those years of care become visible. The skin maintains better elasticity. Energy levels remain higher. The body continues to move with more flexibility and strength than expected for their age. But perhaps the most powerful result of taking care of the body is something deeper than appearance. It is vitality. People who respect their health often carry a certain liveliness in the way they walk, talk, and interact with the world. Their posture feels more confident. Their movements feel lighter. Their presence reflects a person whose body still supports an active life. Because the truth is simple. Even if many people ignore it, the body quietly keeps score of how we treat it. Every walk, every healthy meal, every good night's sleep is like a small investment in the future. And when those investments accumulate over many years, they create something extraordinary. A body that continues to support life with strength and energy long after many others have begun to slow down. Sometimes the reason someone still looks younger in their later years is not luck. It is the result of thousands of small choices made, day after day, choices that protected and respected the body that carried them through life. 7. You found meaning in life. One of the most powerful reasons some people continue to look youthful even in their 60s, 70s, or 80s is something deeper than physical health or genetics. They have a reason to keep living fully. They have found meaning in their life. If you observe people carefully, you will notice an interesting difference between those who seem to age quickly and those who continue to carry a youthful energy even in later years. The difference often has nothing to do with appearance, wealth, or comfort. It has everything to do with purpose. Many people reach a stage in life where they begin to feel that their important work is finished. After retirement, after raising children, after completing the responsibilities that once defined their identity, they slowly begin to feel as though their role in the world has become smaller. Days begin to feel repetitive. The excitement of contributing, building, or helping something grow slowly fades. Without realizing it, they begin to feel less needed. And when a person starts believing they are no longer useful, something inside them quietly begins to shut down. The mind loses its spark. The body loses motivation. Life begins to feel slower and heavier. But people who age gracefully often take a very different path. They continue to find meaning in life. Even when the traditional roles of work or career have ended, they keep discovering new reasons to wake up in the morning with intention. For some people, that meaning comes from helping family. It might be a grandmother who loves guiding her grandchildren, sharing stories, wisdom, and life lessons that only years of experience can provide. Her presence becomes a source of strength and warmth for the younger generation. For others, meaning comes from teaching and sharing knowledge. Perhaps an older man who spent his life mastering a skill gardening, repairing things, cooking, writing, or craftsmanship begins passing that knowledge on to others. He finds joy in helping someone else learn something new. Sometimes purpose appears in very simple forms. A person might volunteer in their local community. They might help organize gatherings, support neighbors, or contribute their time to causes they care about deeply. Even small acts of service can create a powerful sense that their life still matters. Some people discover purpose through personal projects that keep their mind engaged. They may write, paint, build things, grow plants, study topics that interest them, or pursue hobbies that bring them joy. These activities may not always bring financial reward, but they bring something far more valuable: a sense of direction. Purpose changes the way the mind sees life. When a person has something meaningful to do, they stop focusing on decline and limitations. Instead, their attention remains fixed on possibilities. They think about what they can still contribute rather than what they have lost. Imagine two individuals of the same age. One wakes up each day with nothing that truly excites them or pulls them forward. The hours feel empty, and over time that emptiness begins to drain their motivation. The other person wakes up knowing that someone may need their advice, their help, their presence, or their creativity. They have a small goal to work on, a project to finish, a person to support. That sense of usefulness fuels their energy. And this emotional difference becomes visible over time. People with purpose often carry themselves differently. Their eyes remain focused. Their posture feels more alive. Their conversations feel engaged with the world rather than detached from it, because deep inside, they still feel like participants in life, not just observers. Purpose has a powerful psychological effect. When people believe they are still useful, their mind remains active, their emotions stay engaged, and their spirit continues to move forward. And that inner movement keeps them psychologically young. The truth is something many people forget as the years pass. Human beings are not designed to simply exist. We are designed to contribute, create, guide, and help others in ways that give our lives meaning. And sometimes, the people who continue to look the youngest in old age are the ones who never stopped asking themselves one simple question: how can my life still make a difference today? 8. You learned to accept time. Perhaps the deepest and most powerful secret behind people who continue to look youthful even after 60, 70, or 80 is something that has nothing to do with beauty products, strict routines, or external appearance. They have learned to accept time. This may sound simple, but emotionally, it is one of the hardest things for many people to do. As human beings, we naturally want to hold on to youth. When we are young, the future feels endless. Our energy feels limitless. Our bodies feel strong, and we rarely think about aging at all. But as the years pass, small reminders begin to appear. A few gray hairs, wrinkles slowly forming around the eyes, the body taking a little longer to recover from fatigue. These changes are completely natural, yet many people react to them with fear or resistance. They begin to fight time itself. They become anxious about every visible sign of aging. They constantly compare their appearance to others. They worry about looking older, about losing their youth, about the idea that life may somehow be moving too fast. This quiet fear creates an invisible pressure that follows them every day, and that pressure does something powerful to the human mind and body. When someone constantly resists the reality of time, they carry a deep emotional tension. They feel as if they are losing something precious that they cannot get back. Over time, this fear slowly becomes visible in their expressions, their mood, and their overall presence. But people who age beautifully usually develop a very different relationship with time. Instead of seeing aging as an enemy, they begin to see it as a natural part of the human journey. They understand that every stage of life brings its own kind of wisdom, perspective, and meaning. When they were young, life was about exploration, ambition, and building their path. As the years passed, life became about experience, understanding, and reflection. Each stage carries something valuable, even if it looks different from the one before it. This acceptance changes the way they experience life. Instead of desperately trying to hold on to the past, they focus on living the present stage fully. They enjoy the calmness that comes with maturity. They appreciate the lessons that only years of experience can teach. They stop measuring their worth based on youth, and instead begin to value wisdom, peace, and clarity. For example, imagine two people who are both entering their 70s. One person constantly complains about getting older. They talk about the past as if it was the only time life truly mattered. They feel frustrated with every physical change and every reminder that time has moved forward. But the other person carries a completely different attitude. They speak about life with gratitude. They say things like, "Every decade taught me something new." Instead of focusing on what has changed, they appreciate what they have gained: patience, understanding, deeper relationships, and a clearer sense of what truly matters. This mindset removes a huge psychological burden. When a person stops fighting time, their mind relaxes. They no longer carry the stress of trying to control something that cannot be controlled. That emotional calmness creates a deep inner peace. And interestingly, this peace often becomes visible on the outside. People who accept aging tend to have softer expressions, calmer eyes, and a presence that feels grounded rather than anxious. Their face reflects a kind of quiet harmony with life itself. Ironically, the people who fear aging the most sometimes end up looking older because of the stress and tension they carry. But those who make peace with time often appear more youthful, not because they stopped aging, but because their spirit remains relaxed and balanced. Because the truth is something every person eventually discovers. Time moves forward, whether we resist it or not. But the way we emotionally relate to time determines how heavy or peaceful that journey becomes. And those who learn to walk alongside time rather than constantly fighting it often carry a calmness and wisdom that keeps their spirit feeling younger than the calendar suggests. Sometimes the secret to aging beautifully is not about trying to stay young forever. It is about learning how to grow older with peace, dignity, and acceptance. So if you are someone between 60 and 85, and people still say you look younger than your age, it may not just be genetics. It may be the result of a lifetime of emotional wisdom, curiosity, connection, and inner balance. Because true youth is not only about skin or appearance, it is about how you carry life inside your mind and heart. And sometimes, the people who age the slowest are simply the ones who learned how to live the wisest. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and share it with someone who continues to inspire others with their energy and spirit. Because aging is inevitable, but growing old in spirit is optional. And the people who understand that often remain young far longer than the calendar suggests.